Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. We are late. It is my fault. My apologies to you. I got far too much into a DIY project later, and it went slightly wrong, and I couldn't just leave it. Too caught up in it. But we're here now, and luckily my dear friends are patient sorts, and we're here to bring a short little burst of joy on a Friday night, because it is Friday night. And on a Friday night, when the three of us are together, we play Traveller, our first true love of a role-play game together. Thank you so much for joining us. If it's your first time, you're very welcome. If it's your 1,000th time, have we done 1,000? No. If it's your 100th time, you're very welcome too. Feel free to chat or lurk. We love our chatters. We love our lurkers. If you want to spend some points, click on the red sun. I think I changed it for Traveller. Whole range of things. The more expensive, the more interactive they generally are. Give us a boon for 1,000 if you want. See Ben resplend. He's resplendent anyway, but why not spend some credits to see him properly resplend? If you're a bit skint, but you want to get involved anyway, for 1 credit and 1 credit only, we will always keep I'll drink to that. For 1, something you can do, and we'll raise a glass and we'll drink to that, quite frankly. Short introduction tonight. Oh my goodness, I didn't see that the lizards had escaped until it blew out my eardrums. Thanks, Ewan.
You're welcome.
I saw it go. I saw some grey writing. I just assumed it was you drinking to that. Thanks. That's good. Good sneaky work there. But we'll go into your sneakiness in a minute, because of course you do have a sneaky space rogue, which is always one of my favourite people in life. My name is Luke. Hello. I'm in the top right-hand corner, and I play 2 characters in this game. I play Kara, and I play Soraya. Kara is a carouser, a hacker, a chatter, and just not very strong. But she does her best with her talky talks and her smarty smarts. I also play Soraya, who's a scout. She's been a scout for a long, long time. It's made her go a little bit funny in the head, bless her. But she loves a cheesy ball. She loves a drink, and she loves helping out the crew the best she can with her jack-of-all-trades skills. Speaking of a man who has many, many, many skills, he truly is the jack-of-all-trades of the team. He is my brother from another mother, the housewife's favourite, and the Floofmeister General. He is Ewan. Good evening, Ewan. How are you?
Hello, Luke. I'm very well, thanks. I'm very well. I'm excited for some more Traveller. I hear we're going new places, on new levels tonight.
Oh, we are. We're going underground to make use of Paul Weller. And
Demonetize us straight away.
I know, well, I go early, why not? Why hang on in hope that we might get something? As soon as we play the Beastie Boys, it's all over anyway. Very, very litigious, as we know.
That is true. Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. But what isn't alleged is who you play in this game of ours, because you truly do.
It's not at all. I too play 2 characters. I play Agnar Arnson, who is a Varga, wolf humanoid, former military general. He likes, I'm not sure he likes it, but he buys stuff for people. He loans Kara 900 credits for gifts. I'm not sure it's a loan.
It's not a loan, mate, honestly.
Yeah, the loan was never mentioned. And generally tries to keep everyone in tip-top shape by healing the group where he can. I also play the aforementioned sneaky space rogue Stefan Miller, aka Stephen, for tonight. His code name for our mission was chosen by somebody else with
I
really creative. Ironically enough, by the most creative character amongst our whole crew. He is sneaky. He does like a backflip from time to time, and he will be called Stephen for the majority of the evening.
But don't get confused. Then I tried to give Kron the nickname Stefan just to be confusing, but it got overruled, I feel.
Yeah, I think that one got vetoed.
yeah, he's travelling under the name Neil for some reason.
Indeed.
Why not? Speaking of Neil, we are led tonight by a man for whom Neil would not nearly be a grand enough title, because he is the smartest man in any room. He lives his entire life in the Twin Peaks dream sequence, and he's carried around Faversham regularly in a sedan chair on the backs of 6 topless and heavily oiled Neils. He is the wonderful Ben. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
Well, thank you. Yeah, very well. Much looking forward to this, and as always, it's fun to go back to some Traveller and some old friends and some old characters, even if they're in a new place.
That is true. That is true. And you are the oldest of the friends, Neil. Neil. I called you Neil, you see. It's in now. I'm sneaking in. I'm sneaking it in.
It is because I imbue the character.
You
Yes,
do.
it is true. I am very old. I am very old.
But very, very wise.
Well, I'm only slightly wise compared to how old I am. I think.
There's a crossing point somewhere, and you're there. I don't know where the crossing point is, but it's exactly where you exist.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not convinced that age necessarily makes that much of a difference. If you're dumb when you're young, you're probably dumb when you're old.
Dumb and wrinkly.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Ah, beautiful. So, with wise words ringing in our ears, why don't you lead us on with some more wise words, dear Ben, for this evening's?
To set the scene, perhaps. So, welcome back to the disturbingly authoritarian world of Darkmoon. The water world contains one large city, Darkmoon City, floating in the ocean, anchored to the southern polar cap. Everything about its design is constructed to refine the vast kelp forests under the oceans into a local product called cadmos, while treating the locals like a slave labour force. Still, they're here on a mission. Actually, blazing a trail for the Deep Night Revelation mission, months behind them, required meeting the surprisingly pleasant Governor Helinsky. At least he was nice to them. After the basics were covered, our heroes quickly organised a bit of trade, purchasing some cadmos from the source, and they got the Baltic Star topped up with fuel. However, there are a few things that have piqued their interest. In Sector 104, a part of the seabed, there's a place the harvesting of kelp is forbidden. The word forbidden is like catnip to this group of adventurers, of course, so that's directed them in this direction. There are also persistent rumours of a band of outlaws on the ice cap, but no confirmation they exist. After all, the government denies they're a problem. After a series of impromptu brunches, Stefan and Kara decided to take Zoe and Kron down to level 100 on the city, where the main ship docks can be found. Before going, they popped some starlight drops into their eyes, should they encounter any darkness ahead. The four catch a local shuttle which carries them through the brutal winds and down into the centre of the city, docking at level 100. And that is where we resume the story. It is 7:30 in the morning.
Important to know, of course, because we must be back by 6.
Well, yes, or potentially away from the city. It is
Yes.
only the city that is denied you outside the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You could be on the ice cap, on a ship on the ocean, on your own shuttle, all sorts of things. Just not.
Ideally, not in the vacuum of space.
Well, if you've got a nice spaceship wrapped around you, that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What's that?
Well, Stefan looks over at Cara. Well, Betty, it's the lights on this shuttle are really bright.
Well,
I don't like it.
It's all those years you've spent dealing with the kelp farming, dear Steve. I'm sure it's nice for you to be back down at level 100. It's been a while, no doubt.
Yes, not common.
I suppose we should have a mooch around, see what we can find. We've gathered together a crew of our finest individuals, and Stefan to
Who?
have you not met him, Stefan?
No, who's Stefan?
He's this really creepy guy that follows us around sometimes. Just check he's not with us. Neil keeps pointing him out. You've not seen him? Kind of a hump on his back, a weird dribbles a lot. You've not seen him?
Ooh.
I know.
Does he wear like a dark cape that he pulls over his face as he flees off once Neil's spotted him?
He does whenever
Sounds horrible.
normally when lightning strikes, you just see
Uh,
a flash across his face.
Yeah. He doesn't sound like a very good person.
Luckily, we've got Steve, and Steve's an upstanding, fine citizen.
Excellent. Well, you should probably get going so I can move my shuttle.
Yes, I suppose you're better. Thank you so much, as always, for your. I know it's not always you, but whenever we've been transported, it's always been a pleasurable experience. Thank you kindly. Have a wonderful day.
No problem. And he watches as the four of you grab your personal belongings and exit onto level 100. The first thing you notice about level 100 is it is taller than the other levels you've been on. This feels like a much larger industrial space, like it actually covers multiple levels, 3, 4, 5 of them perhaps. So there's a much higher ceiling. And the corridors that lead from the docks out towards the outer ring are broad and wide and and very high. On each side there seem to be workshops, because you can actually hear workshop noises going on, and the docking bay areas for the kelp are clearly numbered and labeled, with each one indicating with a series of lights whether or not it's accepting new kelp or whether it is full and can't take any more at the moment. As you walk through to the main corridor that runs around the circumference, you can see in front of you large, sturdy, weatherproof looking double doors that slide into recesses on each side, each one marked with a docking bay number.
Steve, you must know where we need to go now.
Yeah, of course. It's taller than I remember. Don't you think? Do you think they've expanded? Do you think they've taken another level?
Maybe as you're getting older, you're starting to lose your centimeters.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe I'm shrinking.
It's possible. It feels the same to me, but
we're looking for 10411, aren't we? I don't suppose that corresponds with the what do the docking bay numbers look like?
They don't look the same format. They look conventional numbers. Directly opposite you is 65.
Well, there must be some kind of centralized hub, Betty, that sort of tells people where their vessel is leaving from, where it's arriving, where things are.
There must be some nice screens, lists of who's where, what's coming and going. Absolutely, let's go looking for that. That feels like it rings a bell. I'm sure there must be something like that. Surely.
Okay. Where are you going to go looking for these? Along the circumference corridor?
Should we split up? Do you want to go one way? I'll go the other. That's a bad idea.
It's a big circumference, yeah.
Let's stay together.
Stay together. I think let's keep an eye out. It might be a bit like an airport or a bus station or something. You might see something in a recess somewhere. Let's keep our eyes out. See if we can spot anything that might give us a clue. If not,
people gathering.
Yeah, well, that's good. They might be gathering to watch some old Shakespeare or some acrobatics. You never know.
They might have a buckyball match on.
Oh, let's hope.
Okay, so pick a direction, please. Would you like to go left, which is anti-clockwise, or right, which is clockwise?
We know what Sir Raya would suggest at this time, don't we, Steve?
Yeah, of course. Go left.
But I'm not a scout. We're going right.
Okay.
Whoa.
You turn right and begin to make your way past the docks. 66, 67, 68, 69. At dock 70, directly opposite it and projecting down from the top of the corridor is indeed a large screen which indicates where various ships are and what they're currently doing, unloading, leaving, returning if the dock is vacant but the ship's already assigned to a dock. So it does have that vibe of an airport. There's a sense of, this is taxiing, this is taking off, this is landing. It's that kind of thing. It does seem busy as you move. There are a lot of people traveling around, and a few of them are stopping to glance at the screen, which seems to be double-sided. So some of them are facing towards you, looking at the other side of it. And the screen goes through a regular rotation showing what's happening at each of the docks. And it isn't very long before you discover that ship 104-11, if that's the one you're interested in, is currently docked at 81.
81.
Oh, you see, the scouts, they'd have got there in the end, but they'd have taken some time, you see. With an artistic soul, you can get there quicker. You tell Soraya that. You tell Soraya to not be such a stickler.
Artistic soul equals quicker.
Mhm.
Don't go left. Don't be stickler.
Make a note. These are important laws to live by.
But never forget Benny Iron Sea.
Oh, yeah. But whatever happens, never forget Benny Iron Sea.
Yeah. Stefan takes out his device and starts typing a message, and he'll send it. Actually, he'll send a message to Kronkara and Zoe. He'll just say we should have a code word in case in case things go badly and we want to we need to start taking a more aggressive stance with things. I'm not suggesting we do that. It's a bad idea, but it's better to be prepared. You know the Scouts' motto.
Carl message back. Sure, let's use a word that always fills me with the need for violence. Let's go for cags.
Okay. Cags it is.
I hope he's okay. I hope he didn't die. But he did look quite close to it when we left him.
Nah, I think drunk is not the same as dying.
Oh, the way he was complaining.
Yeah, well, he's an old soldier. He complains a lot.
It's true. Cool. That's suitable. That's a very suitable code word.
Okay. Cags it is. Fair enough. Are you moving along towards Dock 81, and are you interested in anything that's happening with the previous docks, the earlier ones?
We only know 2 ship numbers, don't we? And the other one is 10406, but we know that's not going to be back tomorrow.
Yeah. Presumably they follow the sectors. Did we get any other information on other sectors? I don't think we did we?
There are plenty of other ships with different sector code numbers. Yes.
Yeah.
Docked. So there are ships associated with other sectors. All of the sectors seem to have a 3-digit number, and they all seem to begin with a 1 that you can see.
109 are the big rivals. They're the next ones up.
So there isn't there doesn't seem to be sort of a sector 13 or a sector 406, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Perfect.
There is, however, another 104 ship on the list, which is 104-01.
Is it docked?
Yeah.
Where at?
It's docked in 129.
Oh, it's a long walk. Tired legs already. Looks like it's interesting to see they've got another ship in though. Steve.
Certainly is. Betty. Is that how we're saying our names from now on?
Yes, Steve. Can you say mine with a little bit less venom though, please?
Sorry, I think it was unintentional at this point.
Very hard tease. Very hard tease.
Betty.
For slightly better.
No, worse, better.
Slightly
Okay.
Betty.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, you'll get used to it. It's not like you've known me by this name for years. Let's go to 81. I'd like to have a look around, see what secrets it has that might be of interest.
Okay. You make your way towards 81. In fact, having a specific destination in mind means that you blend in rather better with the locals, who are obviously for the most part hurrying to their shift or hurrying from their shift, and they all seem to know where they're going and only glance occasionally at the board to confirm the destination before racing off to wherever they are. There's not a lot of lounging about. There doesn't seem to be much chatting going on. Everyone here is concentrating on the job at hand. And eventually you do indeed get to the large double door that's marked Dock 81. There doesn't seem to be any obvious sign of people coming and going through it, but it has a nice big touch panel by the side, which you can, put your hand on and it will presumably open.
Steve, you've clearly got the best looking hand for this job.
No, I insist, Betty, after you.
Okay. When the doors slide open, they do so fairly quickly. It's a bit noisy, not unpleasant, but these are industrial doors. They're not designed with that smooth swish that you'd get in a luxury apartment complex. They are just functional, mechanical, heavyweight doors, and they sound like them. When they pull open, you realize that you're stepping into something that it's vaguely reminiscent of the concept of an airlock, but it isn't one. The doors you step through lead into a fairly substantial space, fairly wide, and directly opposite them is a large wall of glass windows, floor to ceiling. And in the middle of that wall, directly opposite the doors, is a similarly sized pair of sliding glass doors, surrounded by a relatively narrow metal structure. Again, it's an industrial construction, but clearly designed so that you can see what's happening outside the glass. You can see the ship docked in place. It is held in position by what appears to be these vast mechanical clamps, which fix it very firmly into the dock all along its length. And you can see quite clearly why that is the case, because the rain that is lashing against, not really rain, like sea spray that is picked up by the wind and blown against these glass doors and windows, is noisy and intense. Once you're in this space, it's it's loud enough that you actually have to raise your voice to be heard, even though the glass is fairly thick. So clearly they've set it up so that you can see if you're stepping out into a wave breaking over the dock or something. At the moment, it doesn't appear to be that bad, but certainly the spray is unpleasant. It looks stinging and, well, not warm, shall we say.
How far from the glass door does the ship seem to be?
Only a couple of meters, and at this end, which seems to be the stern end of the ship, the rear of the ship, there is a large uh, open hatchway with a sort of drop gate, which bridges the gap between the rear of the ship and the sort of quay side where it's moored. You can tell that it's just a drop gate because there are gaps each side which look down in towards the water. And inside that, kind of like a castle's drawbridge, inside that there's a gate inside the ship's rear to protect it from the elements. But the wind howling across is actually making the drop gate, like the drawbridge, rattle a little bit and move a little bit. It is a very, very windy sight and quite profoundly wet. It looks miserable, and for pretty obvious reasons, there is nobody just lounging about on the dock.
Well, I don't really want to go out there, but we've made it most
Should
of
we
the
go
way
back
now.
then?
Yeah, why not? We tried. We failed.
It was too windy.
I'm a fine weather explorer myself.
Mm.
Wind and rain. Imagine living in a place with wind and rain. Terrible. Come on, look. I suppose we better have a look around. If we do, there's potential mystery and excitement, isn't there, Steve? What's
Yeah.
what's the reason behind all this mystery? I've bought my laptop. What's the point in bringing it if I'm not going to use it? No, I've already fully
I
leveled.
think the reason behind it is some kind of toxic kelp mutation that slowly drives people a little bit loopy. And they're just trying to protect the citizens.
Oh, I like it. You've got a very high opinion of this place, haven't you?
I'll
It's growing on you a bit, I've noticed.
put 10 credits on it.
I'll bet you 1 week of indentured service.
What?
I won't bet it.
No. I mean, here, yeah, sure, but to you, no. No, thanks.
You can't clean my room. I know the
Yeah,
lights. The lights are a
exactly.
bit bright on my side of the ship. I know you'd sort of have to wear your cowl and sort of from the
I'd
bright.
need at least 4 weeks as well.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not a week's work.
You get a suntan on my side of the ship.
Ugh, don't.
And we don't allow robes on our side. You've got to be properly dressed at all times.
Which is weird. You'd think the non-goth side of the ship would be more accepting of robes.
We're not hippies.
Well, you say you're not. I've seen your yoga sessions bright and early in the morning. I think no one knows, but
it was a good deal. The yoga mat, buy one yoga mat, get 17 Magic Eye pictures for free.
exactly.
That's what I needed. Some joss sticks. Oh, I got all the good stuff in that. It's one of those bowls that you can rub your fingers around the edge and it makes a noise.
All of the coolest things.
All of the coolest things. Me and Neil here, we've spent many a morning umming and enjoying the feel of the universe inside our sternums.
But of course. Yeah.
I hope it has calmed us enough. We're going to need to make a move on this, Steve.
We are killing time, aren't we? Let's not do that.
Let's,
We're on a tight schedule.
we are 6:30 after. What about
6 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll be fine.
It
Not too
might
late.
not be,
It'll be all
but you know,
right.
better safe than sorry.
It'll be all fine. They'll let us out for a minute or two.
Better safe
For
than
old Steve and Betty.
eternal servitude.
Oh, only if you're naughty. I'm going to get on there. Neil, do you want to come along as well? Check out the hardware while I check out the software, as it were.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Just the two of us?
Zoe, do you want to stay out here, keep an eye on things? Let us know if someone's coming, if we need to be aware, if we need to scarper or hide quickly.
She nods and then she says, I hate to say it, but if there's an alert or anything, they might lock down the door here. So I might have to be the other side of it. And she glances at the weather. Like, so if I do that, how about you hurry?
I don't want to be poking around for too long on something we shouldn't be doing. So for sure.
All right. Okay.
Steve, you
So
nosy? You coming with? Do you want to turn on your comm system, Steve?
Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
Okay, good.
I was so bored when you keep talking.
Wait, is this Ewan or Stefan?
We'll never know. It's definitely Steve.
That guy's a jerk. I don't think
I can either
Steve.
come with, or I could wait the other side of the door and see if anyone starts coming in.
Oh,
You're cool.
You just don't like the weather.
I'm happy either way. I just, it's a little bit more of an advanced warning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad call, actually. Not a bad call.
Seems reasonable.
I had a lot of time to think when it was quiet.
Beautiful. Go for it. Yeah. That sounds like a good plan. Get out there, catch the lie of the land, make sure we're not interrupted, or if we are, give us prior warning. Yeah, I like it.
Good stuff.
Okay.
I'll make sure to keep my comms on this time.
Helpful, thanks.
All right. So are you heading back onto the concourse then?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. Try and find somewhere indiscreet to have a view of the doors and the old hand pad, and just see if anyone seems to be heading in that direction. For the foreseeable
when
future.
you go through to the concourse, can you, I think,
Can
roll a streetwise for me, please?
you roll initiative?
Roll a stealth if you prefer. Either of them would be fine.
Let's go streetwise. I really use it. Thank you very much. With
if it's streetwise, you use intellect. If it's stealth, you can use dex.
oh, well, I said streetwise now, so let's go with streetwise and intellect. So
Okay.
that's okay there. That's 8 plus 2 total.
Okay. As soon as you get out onto the concourse, you glance left and right and realize that these vertical signs that are above must be every 10th dock. There's one essentially opposite dock 80, which is just one along. And because by its nature, that sign tends to accumulate a small group of people who stop and read it for a while. And it's not uncommon while they're there for them to be making a note on a tablet or something like that. as part of their job, just as a memory, to remind them which dock to come back to or whatever. As a consequence, that's an area where you could probably blend in quite easily, provided you remembered to just glance up at the board every now and then and look like you were doing something.
Yeah, in fact, he'll start off taking the board a little bit more than he did last time. Is there anything? Does it give information on ships that haven't yet been assigned a number? Like
Ones that haven't got a dock, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, ones that don't have a docking number as of yet, like how far away they are or if they're en route.
As you watch the board change, it only appears to show things that are either in dock or approaching or leaving. It's kind of like departure gates at an airport. There may be somewhere a list of just expected flights, but they only appear on this board when they have a gate.
Okay, cool. No worries. But yeah, he'll periodically glance up and shake his head and go back down to his device, which is in front of his eyes, so he's got a nice clear view behind it to the doorway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Once he's gone through and the door is closed, the three in the airlock can stare out through the glass at what they're about to step into. And you see Zoe sort of braces her shoulders and gets ready and doesn't press the button. She's not going to go any earlier than anyone else wants to.
Wow. I'll tell you what, Zoe, for this, you're definitely getting a few drams of Agnar's secret stash, I think.
Thank you. And, scrambled eggs and bacon and sausages and things like that. It would be good. It would be very good.
We'll message Kat on. We'll message Rose on the way back. She can get it started.
Brilliant.
And a blanket or 5.
Yeah, those would be good. Yeah. Yes, that's a very good plan.
And I know the secret code for Agnar's all over body hair styling dryer thing. We'll get you in that as well if you want.
That'll be good, or maybe just a few hours in the sauna will help.
Yeah, either way, I'll take that in the sauna. I think probably explode, but you never know. Anyway, thank you.
I find explosions oddly comforting.
That is true. Well,
okay. Gerg punches the door button, and the double doors slide open. The moment there's a gap, even a few millimeters of gap, you can hear the wind whistle through, and you get this strong blast of cold, damp, salty spray air. If you want to be heard out there, you will need to shout. It is loud and very, very blowy. And as soon as the doors are wide enough, you can press through even while they're still opening. The dock itself is wet, and it's that thing where, because of the way the wind blows the water, if you look down at the ground, it seems like sheets, almost like patterns of water, are thrown onto it in swipes. So it gives the impression of like windscreen wipers under a very heavy torrential downpour. Not because it's being wiped, but because that's the curtains of water falling down onto it. Within a couple of seconds, you're feeling chilled and a bit damp and a bit miserable. Honestly, the amount of water isn't all that much. It's just stinging in its intensity.
Stefan turns to the person next to him, makes sure his comms are on, and says, "Oh my gosh, it's warm and cozy in here today, don't you think?"
The person who's sort of looks across from the board he's examining. It's like, no more than usual. And looks back up at the board, finishing his note before racing off.
Back to the job.
In his ear, all he gets is some hissed sailor's language.
Apt, I think, given the weather.
Exactly. Right, there's no time to waste, and Kara sort of pushes Kron on with her, really.
Okay.
Right.
So you're heading over the sort of drawbridge thing.
Please.
Zoe steps off to the side a little way, partly so she can sort of shelter a little bit in the corner of the dock where because there's a bit of back pressure, the wind can't get out of there easily. It just provides a little bit of a buffer, but also because she can lean against the wall and steady herself against the wind.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have to cross this very wet, thoroughly well textured drawbridge. It does have handrails on both sides, but it is open and slippery, and it has water down both sides. So as you step across, you have a relatively short distance to go, only a couple of meters before you can step into the rear of the ship. But it is treacherous footing because the wind is whipping at your clothing and making every step feel risky. So I'm going to ask that you roll an athletics dex plus dex, please.
Oh, Dex plus Dex. It's not the bane of my life. It's like all the zeros for me. I should do something about that. I need to get myself some athletics Dex at some point. Just 'cause it turns up too often. I'll just warm my hands up. Warm my hands. Oh.
It's the dice you should be warming up.
The last I need to do is, it's all right for some. Some people are just warm already. I want to fall into the ocean. Oh, God. Oh, it's okay, probably. It's a flat on, though. 8 flat.
Okay, yeah.
Depends how big the wind is, I suppose.
So you struggle your way across, and almost as soon as you're in the back of the ship, you both make it safely and fairly comfortably. Because you're now inside a little bit of shelter, the wind does drop a little bit, but it's still noisy because it's howling past the entrance behind you. It's still loud. There is a fairly substantial bulkhead door directly in front of you. There is a gap between the drawbridge and the bulkhead door, but it's not very big, maybe a meter. And it has a normal, push panel, open door button.
Bush.
The door opens. It's kind of on a diagonal. It's in two parts still, but it's not straight vertical hinge. The gap isn't vertical. It's a diagonal one. And as it pulls open, you realise that to help it have a bigger contact area for where the two parts mesh together to make it nice and sturdy across its reach. And as it pulls open, you can step straight inside, and immediately you can hear someone yell from inside the ship, hurry in, get the damn door closed.
We hurry in and get the door closed.
Okay. You step inside and immediately hit the close button, not waiting for it to automatically detect that you're inside. And the door shuts pretty smartly. And as soon as it's shut, the wind drops to basically nothing. You can't even hear it outside. You're in a very large hold, a central hold on a ship. And this end is completely empty, but is clearly designed with mounting places and racks for cargo of some kind. But the ship's central corridor, this bit, which is it's like a cargo aircraft, it's just one long empty space. As you go further forward, you start to see some changes, including a large piece of machinery towards the front, and on each side of it, narrower corridors, but still part of the same single space. And beyond those, some complex looking round access doors on each side.
I think Neil, looks like we're not alone on here, but I don't know. I think we play out that we're 104. Okay, 104. We're here to. We've been sent down to speed things along, have a check over, make sure everything's okay. There's a guy, Dr. Francis Stein. We can bring his name up if need be. And if he does contact him, say that Steve's come down. I think Dr. Stein knows that that's happening. So we'll play it out, okay? We'll see what we can do. Let's not. She sort of flicks the her comms off. Let's not go full cags yet, okay? And then flicks it back on again. She doesn't want an accidental cagsing. Come out to see like thousands of people dead. And Stefan just
Stefan's in the middle of a peaceful concourse, and Zoe stood out on a platform with no one else around.
As you step forward into the ship and start making your way, you see the person who yelled out at you stands up from the side where he was carefully tucking away various straps and retaining points as if getting ready to go. And he stands up and turns and looks at you. He says, "You're not crew. What are you doing here?" And that's where we'll take our break.
Oh, we're not crew.
Nice.
He's seen right through us. It didn't take him long. Think fast.
Not very long.
Not very long at all. Speaking of not very long, we're going to take a short break, like 5 minutes, then we'll bang out a 35-minute rattle through to the end, and we'll see what sort of excitement, how many people Stefan kills while I'm on the ship.
All the people.
Well, I mean, without over-egging the pudding, I should point out that based on the fact that the entire global economy is based on the kelp, everybody here is technically a gardener.
Mm.
Oh, no,
Or at least facilitates gardening.
Yeah.
Not even considered that. That changes everything. Why did we
Tough on gardening, tough on the causes of gardening.
Why did we leave Stefan on his own with a whole floor of gardeners? Let's hurry back before he can do too much damage. Right. We'll be back in a second, everyone. See you in a second.
See you in a few. It's time to recount another of the stories I was once told by our former ship's steward. I can't verify the accuracy of these stories. After all, he once told me he invented buoyancy. Once, he told me, he found himself on an agricultural world, in charge of a large private farm. Naturally, he was up to the task, he assumed, since it's clearly much easier to run a farm than to mix a Kir Royale. It turned out, at first, that he had no idea what he was doing, so he employed an expert to tell him what to do specifically so that he could ignore that advice, and having been warned, it would be much funnier. We recall in these moments how brilliant a barman Grehill was and how useless in a firefight, but it is his sense of humour that above all we remember. If only there had been someone to tell him how to survive a battle first, then his death would presumably have been much funnier. Here's to the late, great Grehill Bast.
The late great
The
Graham
late
Bass.
Grehill Bast.
Perfect timing, Spez. Perfect timing
The Grehill.
for Greyhill. A Kir Royale in America, isn't it called a Kir to pounder?
Here with
A
cheese.
Kir with cheese. Ha. Ho, ho, ho.
Yes. Oh, that's a nice thing, Sparrow. Don't ever worry about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So you've just been challenged by somebody who has pointed out, not inaccurately, that you're not
Yeah,
actually
the slime.
crew.
Um, can we see this person?
Yeah, he's crouching on the side, not very far ahead of you along the ship, but it's quite a substantial vessel, so he's probably 20 meters away.
How's he looking?
Harassed. He's working hard.
Hi, yeah. I'm Betty. This is my colleague Neil. Yeah, I know we're not regular crew for the 104, but my colleague Steve was up in the nosebleeds yesterday, chatting with the scientists up here, and heard that there might be some situations that we could come down and help with. We're specialists with the IT, with the engineering, and it sounds like the 104 need all hands to the pumps, as it were, at the minute, to get things running properly.
Well, we could certainly use you here. Can you roll, please, a persuade for me?
Okay.
With intellect.
Oh yes, with pleasure.
And you can have a boon for this one.
Oh, thank you.
Ooh. Because you dropped Steve's name.
Oh, we love Steve's name. It's going to be an 11 in total.
Okay. Yeah, he says, we could definitely use the help. Bathy number 3, it has been out of commission since it was taken on that special mission. If you can get that up and running, that'd be great. I mean, it would slow down our departure because we need to get another Bathy driver, but if you've got a Bathy driver as well, that would be wonderful.
What's it? Bathy 3.
Number 3, portside.
Of course. She nods at Cron. I guess portside Bathy 3, Cron. Sorry, portside Bathy 3, Neil. So it's because I was looking at my notes at the time. Miles away. Sorry.
He nods and okay.
Just
and he walks slightly cautiously along the ship, wondering what the hell he's looking for. And keeps going until he seems to pass that large piece of machinery in the middle of the deck, and keeps going, and you see him sort of disappear beyond it.
Well, what's your name? Sorry, friend.
I knew you were going to ask me that. Hold on. Linto.
How are we
Linto
spelling that?
Sard.
How are we spelling that?
Linto
Yeah.
Sard.
Sard. Linto. My man Neil is an excellent mechanic and good on the bath. I'm more IT. I run the diagnostics, check things out, make sure everything's working well. Have you got a good place for me to plug in?
Yeah, you're working the machine or the ship?
Your ship.
He directs you towards the same direction that Kron has gone, and he says, "Back of the bridge. There's a comms point there. I'm sure that'll have everything you need."
Perfect. Thanks a lot, and I'll run my diagnostics, check things out. I'll come back to you as soon as it's sorted. You got a place I can grab a drink while I'm here? Bit of water.
He gives a little smirk and he says, "Yeah, on the bridge, I'm afraid, but I think they're pretty hectic in there. Try not to slow them down too much. We're on the clock."
Of course, I'll stay. I won't worry about it then. I'll just stay at the back and do what I need to do. Leave them be, and don't want to take their attention, you know.
Okay. Well, good luck. If you can help, helping is good.
Absolutely, it's what we're here for. Kara will sort of wander in the sort of the direction suggested. As she wanders down towards it, she'll send a little message out to the group, saying that she's been told a place that she can sort of log in on. Keep them posted. Hopefully, it won't be too long. Asks Stefan if everything's okay his end.
Yeah, everything seems okay at the minute. I'd watch out that person. There was a long pause after you asked for their name till you repeated it. Sounds like they might be using a code name. You know what Soraya would say. Never trust anyone who doesn't use their real name. But thanks, Betty. Thanks for the heads up.
Thank you, Ewan. Always appreciated.
Sorry. Sometimes I just can't help myself.
Okay. Are you pressing forward the same side as Kron went, down the port side of the machine?
Well, sure, why not? I'm happy to head down that way as well.
Okay. When you reach the machine, you realize that it's just one giant piece of equipment that's effectively built into the ship, running from floor to ceiling in this space. It looks massive and heavy. And as you get close to it, you can see that there is a hatchway at the aft end of it, which doesn't look particularly big. You know, it's maybe a meter square down at floor level, but no other important markings at that point. But as you go past it, you realize there are some controls on the side. Not that you can necessarily work out what they do, but notably, there's something pretty obvious on the side right at the back. There's a big red button to stop it working if there's an emergency. And you can see one of those on the side there. And as you keep going past it, down the relatively narrow space that's between it and the side of the ship, there's another similar red button at the front as well. And as you get past that narrowing, you step out into a space that, in theory, is the full width of the ship again.
Mm-hmm.
And the front of that machine also has a hatch, but this one is much larger. It's a much bigger hatch entrance, and seems to be quite complex in its design. Like it's made up of lots of vertical bars that interlock with each other, whereas the hatch at the other end was a pretty basic, just flat hatch. At the front there, where the stop buttons are, there's a few more controls. It looks like the actual operations of the machine normally run from there. And beyond the machine, where it should be nice and wide, it sort of isn't, because on both sides of the hull there are these large, round, like semicircular protrusions into that space. 3 on each side, 3 on the port, 3 on the starboard, directly opposite each other. And where those are at their most, they're broadest, right in the middle of each one, the gap between them isn't all that big. They have doors leading into them from those narrow points, and they are numbered. The first one on the one at the front on the left is number 1. One at the front on the right is number 2. So the first 2 you walk through are actually numbers 5 and 6. 5 on the port side and 6 on the starboard. And by the time you get there, Kron is standing there looking slightly confused at this semicircular thing, and is just in the process of opening the door to step inside and see what's in there in this space, assuming that this is the number 3 he's after.
Everything okay, Neil?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll find out what all of this is. I'm not completely comfortable about the idea of fixing something when I have no idea what it is, let alone how it works.
You don't really need to fix anything. Just have a poke around, see what you think. See what you think it is. See if anything's looks off. You know, you're an experienced engineer. Anything that seems strange, anything that might be causing it to not run properly. There might any reason why it might not be used for the job it's supposed to be being used for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what I can also do, of course, is go and take a look at the one opposite, number 4.
Yeah.
If that one's supposed to be working, I can see what the differences are.
Perfect. That sounds perfect. Yeah. I've been given the allowance to get up onto the bridge and log in, so I'll be doing that for a little while. But if you can do that, if anyone asks you who you are, just tell them that the old Linto sent you, if that is indeed his real name. Apparently, if you give a pause before you give an answer, it suggests that you're using a false name.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very suspicious behavior. I grant you that.
Indeed. Especially when someone says, "I knew you'd ask me that beforehand." Like they've covered a pre-arranged answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they've got to look it up. I mean, that's disturbing.
That's always a concern.
Yes, indeed. Okay. So you press on towards the bridge, and Kron disappears into this semicircular space, and you can hear the door close behind him. So he's clearly in there doing something. Okay. And meanwhile, you move forwards, and almost as soon as you get past the last of those semicircular protrusions, you're confronted with the forward area. There seemed to be a little bit of crew space on each side. not what you call luxuries by any means, but there are some fold down seats and fold down tables from the side
Mm.
that can be used to relax, eat a meal, have a drink, whatever you need. And then just in front of that, there's a little area with uh, a door into the bridge, presumably, certainly one that's heading in that direction forward. And um, just this side of that door, a couple of panels which do seem to have computer connection points, um, presumably so that people in this crew area can access logs, work details, anything else they need, and perhaps communicate.
Perfect. Then, in which case, Cara will settle down into a pull-out chair on the desk, and before she pulls the laptop out, having a
Mhm.
quick look around, is there any kind of crew gear, a jacket, a cap, anything like that?
Um, Tell you what, roll a streetwise for me with intellect, please.
Thank you. Oh, 7, but +2 is 9.
Okay. Um, so when she looks around, she realizes that tucked underneath the sort of fold-out chairs as part of the same structure, there are small, flat um, cubbies, not really lockers, but little fold-away areas where you could put some basic items. And on pulling open a couple of them, she finds some decks of cards and things like that for people um, to while away time when they're on the ship, and also a waterproof um, cap with a visor that's attached to the brim that comes down over the eyes and face, presumably for anyone who has to step outside into the weather.
Mm. Um, she'll grab it. She'll put it on, but sort of can she sort of put it backwards or something a bit more jaunty that sort of, she's not just covering her face in a suspicious way, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Wear it casually.
yeah. In fact, I might casually.
Indeed. Okay. Yes, you can indeed. Now you're firing up your laptop.
Please.
And am I right in thinking you're going to do a hacking job?
Yes, please.
Okay, then can you do an electronics computers, please?
I certainly
You can
will.
have the +1 for the deck.
Wonderful. Am I using my intellect?
Yes, please.
Cool. Let's go +4. Which might be just as well because that's a horrible roll. That's 4 + 4 is 8.
Okay. All right. Can you roll a d6 for me, please?
It's okay. It's okay. Nothing to worry
Four.
about.
I can't. Oh, it's a 1. So it's either brilliant or horrific. I can never remember which is which.
It was a 1, you say?
It was a 1, yes.
Okay. Um, it's pretty abundantly clear that this system is not up to the standard of stopping you. It appears that there's not even any serious attempt to keep it secured, and within a few minutes, you've managed to punch through its security and gain access to the whole ship systems, whatever you want to do or look at.
Um, let's look at its activity logs.
Okay. All right. When you look at its logs, it's pretty clear that it's done a whole series of routine trips, most of which took around about 24 hours. But it had a more lengthy trip in which it did not do any kelp harvesting. the logs clearly indicate how much harvesting was done. And on this lengthy trip, it did not do any kelp harvesting. That trip is also, it's the trip before last, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And that was the trip in which Bathy 3 stopped functioning. There are more detailed logs in there indicating that Bathy 3 appears to have suffered a malfunction while at a very substantial depth, much deeper than any of the other Bathies had gone on that particular trip or the other regular trips, possibly associated with this crevasse that was being investigated. But it's not actually a pressure problem, it's a communications failure caused by loss of connection to the Bathy. And it isn't entirely clear that that was not deliberate. It could have been severed deliberately by somebody.
Going for a
Okay.
little nose around. Is there? I'm assuming that for every trip there will be a crew manifest.
There is a crew roster, but it doesn't name the crew. It simply identifies the position. So there is a pilot and a co-pilot, a crew chief, and then 12 other people. On paper, 6 Bathy operators and 6 loaders.
Yeah.
But but they aren't named. It's just the number that were out. On the last trip, that's the one after this unusual trip, they only took 5 Bathy operators because Bathy 3 was not operational.
Indeed. So you wouldn't know who was on the trip, just that it was fully manned or not fully manned, for example.
Exactly.
And the trip before had the full whammy, where it had 12 people on board.
The trip before had no loaders at all, and only 1 Bathy operator.
Does that mean there was only one person on the ship?
Well, it's an interesting thing because looking at the logs, since you've asked the question, it appears that even though there was only 1 Bathy operator logged and no pilots at all, nonetheless, the ship made its journey and at one point was operating 2 Bathys.
Oh. Is there camera recordings?
There are, and they are offloaded at the end of each journey to be put into a central server on the city.
Okay. But there is.
So though there is camera recording, a functioning Bathy, when it's completed its journey, will automatically upload its data to the ship, and then the ship will packet it up and send it to the city.
So any camera footage would be at the city.
Yeah, unless of course a Bathy, for example, was somehow disconnected from the ship.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? But Bathy 3 was disconnected. Interesting. Would the systems would it keep track of when the Bathys leave the ship, for example?
There are time codes, yes.
And would it say what location the place was when it released the Bathys? So
yes, the ship's basic log covers everywhere it went and where it was for how long.
So in the penultimate trip, as is, where was the ship when it released the Bathy?
It was right in the middle of Sector 104.
In the hatch marked area.
Yeah, right in that red bit.
Totally normal. Not
Totally
suspicious
normal behaviour.
whatsoever. Nothing to see here.
Exactly. Hmm. Does I'm guessing the ship will have some sort of mapping of the area. It's a hatch mark. Does it show that there's like a crevasse or anything like that, or is it just like very vague and sort of outer bounds, kind of no mapping?
It doesn't exactly have a map, not a sort of particularly graphical one, but it does have coordinates loaded which indicate the forbidden area.
Okay. Right.
And in fact, the boundaries of Sector 104.
Can I download all this stuff? Download a copy of it.
Yes, I don't see why not.
I'd like to download as much as I can, then please.
Okay. So you pull all of this data, which indicates the nature of the suspect trip and the 5 Bathy trips since then. Do you want all of the previous trips as well?
I don't know if I need to. So from a look through, there was only one that was out of the ordinary, correct?
Yeah. Technically, there were 2 in the sense that the last trip only deployed 5 Bathy
Yeah,
operators.
of course, yeah.
But other than that, they've all been pretty routine.
Yeah, that's fine. The amount of kelp they're getting pretty stable otherwise, but not necessarily high because they haven't got the area, but pretty much the same.
It looks pretty reliable and pretty consistent. The loss of a Bathy did seem to cut into their numbers last time.
Right. That seems all reasonable. If she's there, she'll drop Stefan a message and just say, Stefan, if you're in my place, anything you'd be looking for?
I'd definitely be looking for anything weird and unusual. I have no idea where you are, really. What's going on? Sorry, it's quite dry up here. Dry and comfortable.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything? Any signs of damage? I guess physical damage, data damage. I guess for you. Any anomalies in the system? But other than that, I don't really know what you're looking at. But between you and Neil, I'm sure you got it all covered.
I hope so. As long as you've got us covered.
And Stefan,
yeah.
Can you please roll a streetwise for me with intellect, Stefan?
No, I haven't been keeping my dice for you.
Oh no.
Oh, that's good though, because that is a 10 on the dice, plus 2, 12 total, please, Ben.
Okay. You actually spot the rest of the crew arriving in plenty of time. Knowing what you know, it doesn't surprise you that there are in fact 11. 6 of them wearing conventional coveralls and 5 wearing a different cut of suit, a bit tighter fitting, a bit more made of slightly more expensive and elaborate fabric, but basically still work clothes. And when you see that there are 11 of them, a crew of 6 loaders and 5 Bathy operators, it doesn't surprise you at all that they turn in towards the lock that you're watching, Lock 81.
It's funny you should mention that. You've got about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's an odd number of them. You know, I have trouble with odd numbers. It's somewhere between 10 and 12 of them are turning in to 81.
Cool, thanks.
Looks like a crew.
Time to go. And then you sort of see that Kara's no longer online in the conversation.
Okay. And where exactly is Kara going?
She's going to disconnect and head to Bathy 3 very quickly, please.
Okay.
Sorry, Ben. Just to make sure, while Stefan was counting, he wants to make sure that everybody was in that conversation. So Zoe and
Oh, yes, it's Zoe.
and,
Yeah.
and Neil as well, just so they're
Yes.
aware.
They both will acknowledge the transmission, though they don't necessarily say anything. And it's probably best Zoe doesn't, because you could barely hear her over the wind anyway. And Kara, you get to Bathy 3 and tap the panel to open it. And inside, Kron looks up at you from the work he's doing, investigating it, and he says, I can have this up and running in half an hour if you need it.
I think the crew are on their way. We might be out of time.
Okay.
What caused the problem?
He points to a bit of the panel through the hatch that he's examining. He says, well, I can't be certain. It could have been a knife or some shears or a vicious tug, but that was cut.
That explains a lot.
And that's where we'll call it for tonight.
Oh. Shenanigans. There's shenanigans afoot.
We're gathering all the information.
All the information.
I say we. We're not really. Luke and Con are doing a fine job.
Well, some information.
All the information. I think that's all the information now. I think we've got enough to make our decisions. Game over. That's it.
Everything.
Bye, done, guys. Off we go. Next planet. Quick ski, and then off we go. Perfect.
Yeah. Bound to be the way. Quite right.
Very nice, though. Very nice gathering.
Oh, strong gathering.
Gathering of circumstance. I like it.
And thank you for keeping an eye out so well as well, Ewan. It made me feel very safe and secure in at all times.
Got one job.
And you did it perfectly.
Attempt to do it.
Speaking of one job, Ben, you've got one more. There is we have a Rose's cat. Okay. One quick cat story.
Quick cat.
If it seems that Rose's cat, Caboodle, was entirely useless aboard the Baltic Star except in matters of morale, then I've unintentionally misled you. Obviously, in the long weeks of jump travel, when even a ship as comfortable as the Star seems a bit cramped or restrictive, the kitten was a welcome distraction and a welcome friend. But there was more that the cat could do. Doors, for example. Doors in the public spaces of the ship were supposed to open automatically as a person approached. In case they didn't, there was a button you could touch to make them open, and if that failed, then there was a panel beside each with a manual crank that could be used in an emergency. The ship was constantly monitoring the compartments and would automatically change the mode under which the doors operated as the situation required. It could, for example, turn off the automatic opening if the ship was quiet, so a lone person could navigate the companionways without every door opening at their passing. It could make the process manual, just in case, if the oxygen levels dropped even a fraction in any compartment. On the Baltic Star, it had been programmed to make sure that every time Caboodle was in any area, easily identified as a much smaller life form than any other crew member, the doors would be set to automatic. If that modification failed, then the kitten would become very vocal, shouting her displeasure at every passing biped. Rachel Axis appreciated this greatly. As the cat wandered the ship, she would check that the door systems, the life support systems, and the internal scanners worked as intended. Axis was a person who believed that you couldn't do engineering by looking for red lights and fixing things when they went wrong. For her, you had to check everything all the time. Her colleague, Kronsorama, however, preferred a life where he checked for errors and then fixed them. It actually made them a good team. Caboodle was constantly testing several important systems, and when they caused a problem, letting people know. Most people, if they're confronted with a door that doesn't open automatically, just press the button without even thinking about it, so a possible error would be ignored. If there was one person on the crew who had the same basic approach to things as Axis, it was Zoe. Her area of expertise was violence, but she also regularly walked every corner of the ship, looking for obstructions, intrusions, or anything that might make the ship more vulnerable. So it was that one day, Zoe walked over to the engineering desk and dropped a small cat onto the middle of the surface. Axis frowned at the tiny kitten, which had begun pressing her forehead against the engineer's hand, hoping for a bit of attention. Zoe pointed at the cat. "We need to talk." Axis nodded. "About the cat?" "Yes," said Zoe. "Nobody's formally in charge of security on the Baltic Star. We don't have a job title for that. But I have a concern." There was a short hiatus in conversation as both women played with the cat. "I understand," said Axis. "You want Caboodle to be formally named Chief Security Officer." The cat chose that moment to let out a particularly enthusiastic purr.
Oh,
Very nice.
Oh, Q. You join us just as we finish, just in time for some wonderful cat. And the monks have joined us just as we're finishing
And the
as well.
monkeys as well.
Monkeys, sorry. Early finish this evening. My life is full of busyness. It's my daughter's birthday weekend. You
I
must have
do
very-
feel slightly put off. Sorry, I have to say that the cat's getting promoted left, right, and centre, and the rest of us,
the cat one, Jake.
nothing.
No promotions allowed.
No promotion.
No
It's always the way,
promotion.
isn't it? Always the cat.
Oh, wow. At least as long as the cat's happy. Thank you, Russ, Jake, Croy, Q. I hope you wonderful monkeys had a great session this evening, and I hope you all survived. First and foremost, if you didn't survive, I hope you died brutally and horribly. Either way is fine by me.
Dramatically, at least.
Oh, very dramatically. Yeah, watch it, Q. It's only about 90 minutes all in tonight. So a little short session. Yeah, okay, we need to rerun it now. Just what I'll do is just give us a second and we'll start up. I can't remember what happened. Something. Oh, they survived. Oh, you got to try harder, Cry. You got to become meaner. What you got to do? Take Ben's approach. Take on that sort of dastardly overlord vibe.
Are you saying Ben's the meanest GM out of all of us?
Oh, I think it goes without saying, doesn't it? You're the cheeriest.
to be honest, I just say yes to everything. So,
Exactly.
so maybe. Don't know if that leads to cheeriness, but
There are
it leads to
far worse ways to approach things.
Exactly. You're the improv's GM. That's what you are. You're the yes and.
Too kind.
But thank you, dear friends, for joining us. But it is time for us to leave this evening. My two dear colleagues are back tomorrow evening, I believe.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
the plan.
we're going to have a new adventure tomorrow. I mean, I say new, fighting fantasy, but a brand new fighting fantasy. So we're going to be very interested to see this one because, I mean, not only have we never played it, but it's not from my ancient collection, so I've never even cracked the cover.
Is this one of the two new ones that came out reasonably recently, Ben? Or is it a new one for your collection?
I think it's essentially brand new.
Ooh.
I think it may even be from the second batch of brand new ones.
Right, very nice.
So this isn't like the reprint series of the classic ones where I've been using some of them to fill in things I didn't have originally. This is actually brand new.
Very
And I
exciting.
hear they're so much easier now.
You
So we're
can't.
way less likely to die horribly very quickly.
In fact,
Well,
if you don't survive,
The
I'll
book
be
is called
incredibly
The Dungeon
disappointed.
on Blood Island,
That sounds
and it
nice.
appears to have
Yeah.
a picture of a very sweet looking, possibly squirrel on the cover.
Uh,
So I cannot possibly believe there's any threat there.
Yeah. It's just a nice island holiday resort with Bloody Marys,
Exactly.
as far
It
as the
must
eye
be
can
that.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
like it.
It was a birthday present to me from Slayer, who's an occasional viewer of this stream, and I'm sure she would have only sent me this book if it was just the sweetest, nicest, kindest book.
With squirrels, which always helps.
Oh, definitely. I don't have the book within reach, but tomorrow evening I will show you the cover art. It's it definitely looks like a little fluffy squirrel thing.
Yeah, do it tomorrow. It's good for getting viewers back in.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to logging in at like 1:30 tomorrow, and you still going totally strong, no problem whatsoever.
Definitely.
If you are going to watch it, dear viewers, they'll start at 11. Make sure you're there in the first 20 minutes while they're still playing. That's all I'm saying. Going by history.
Yeah.
Exactly, Chris.
Yes. If you turn up at 11:30, there's a fighting chance you'll be too late.
I mean, we might be on the second time through by that point if it's a really quick one.
We have done that once before. Yes.
So who knows?
Yep, we did do that one, but yes, we will have a go with a new one and see how it goes.
I'm excited.
Perfect. It's going to be
Times.
good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Well, dear friends, thank you for joining us this evening. So tomorrow night, join Ben and Ewan for a brand new Fighting Fantasy. And then we'll be back next week for some Traveller, I'd imagine, no doubt. And
Yes.
we'll let you know what's happening in the next couple of weeks where we're busy for bits of it, but we'll keep you posted. But until then, they will see you tomorrow. I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us. Take care. We love you all. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.